back to Across the Stars, a chronological journey through the Star Wars universe. Tonight, we will be reviewing the Clone Wars episode Clone Cadets from Season 3, Episode 1. And of course, I am your Jedi Knight, Drew. And to get with me tonight is, as always, my Padawan learner, Brandon. Brandon, how are you tonight?
I got no complaints. I'm Peachy King.
Yeah, it's a little cold here in my little recording closet, but it's not too bad. But tonight,
I would like to introduce you to heaters.
Well, heaters make noise, and this is an unfinished storage closet, so yeah. So we'll deal with that. But of course, we are not alone tonight, so you know what we have to play.
Why do I sense we've picked up another pathetic life form?
That's right. So let's introduce our guests. We have Robert from the Science Fiction Remnant podcast. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. Thank you for inviting us.
Oh, no problem. And we also have Gio, aka Captain Chaos from the Science Fiction Remnant podcast. How are you tonight, Gio?
That's right. And like they say in your universe, hello there.
Hello there.
That's the only hello there you know who's from.
Always. General Kenobi. I can't do voices. I am terrible at voices.
I love your Thunder Mifflin shirt.
Oh yeah.
Great show. Great show. But we're doing Star Wars tonight, and like I said, we are doing Clone Cadets from the Clone Wars series. And has anybody seen this before today, or before you watched it?
Oh, yes.
Robert has.
This happens to be my wife's favorite show.
You mean we're supposed to watch these before the podcast?
Oh, you don't even know. That happened to me on my other show last night. Oh, no. Funny story. No, I showed up because on my other podcast, we watch wrestling before and review it. Well, the guys that we had on our podcast, that's not what they do. They record themselves watching it. So they thought that's what we were going to do. So I log in, start recording, and they're like, wait. We were supposed to watch this first? And I'm like, yeah.
Oops.
Oh, oops. We'll reschedule for next week.
That's like you're leaving them homework, and then like they come like, okay, we're gonna do the homework together now. Time to deliver.
But Brandon, you'll find this a little funny. 3 guys, I didn't really know them, just invited them on because I thought they were funny on Twitter. Arnold was wearing his Marching Thunder shirt, and the guy goes, "Oh, I didn't know we were supposed to have our Marshall stuff on." Reaches over and pulls out his jacket, went to Marshall. Had no idea. So kind of
interesting.
Funny. Yeah, randomly. Anyway, speaking of interesting, so this is your wife's, Robert, this is your wife's favorite show?
Oh yeah, her favorite character is Sokka.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. This is Clone Cadets. This show I didn't record. I forgot to pull clips on this, so we don't have General Yularen usually gives our intro of what this show is about. So I'll try to, as elegant, whatever, I can't say that word, as I can, which is kind of ironic because I can't say that. Anyway, tell what this show's about. Or Brandon, do you want to do it? You usually do it. I'm trying to steal your thunder here.
Sure. I mean, you want me to just like give a synopsis real quick?
Yeah, give us a synopsis.
All right, so this is Season 3, Episode 1. This is Clone Cadets. So what this is an episode about some clones. They're just having a hard time working together as a team and passing their final exam to become official clone troopers in the Army of the Republic. And they argue with each other, they don't work well, and they get some helpful advice from a clone reject known as 99.
Yes, that was an interesting character, man.
That was the Hunchback of Camino.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Quasimodo.
Dude, you stole my... I gotta come up with a new name now.
I mean, we can both call him the same name. It's not like
that was gonna... We always do the alternate title of what we would call something. That was mine, the Hunchback.
I mean, I had that one down too as an alternate title.
Wait, this is Galaxy, no France.
Yeah, I usually.
But yeah, and oh, go ahead.
Anyway, no, that was So that's pretty much it. Yeah, just they don't work together, then they have to get their together and make it work.
And they're under the tutelage of my favorite, most forgotten Jedi of all of the main canon Star Wars stuff, Shock T.
I was waiting for you. Yeah.
I thought someone was gonna say something, so I was waiting for it. I was like, no, I'll just go ahead and say Shock T.
I just thought you were just going to let it be an open-ended interpretation. I'm like, okay.
There is no open-ended in a show that's this old.
Well, that's true. Yeah, we're not a spoiler-free zone here.
Oh, so we forgot to say spoilers ahead.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You know,
You guys are still doing that.
I think that's kind of implied on a review show.
Yeah.
I've seen
Well-
I've seen podcasts do like spoiler-free review of movie. It's come out in
That's really hard.
2005.
That is
like,
hard
hey,
to do.
next week we probably will need to like warn that there are spoilers though, because that is an actual current thing. So
What?
for next week's episode, not like us recording next week.
Oh, because I'm like, we're taking next week off.
Yeah.
I was like, sorry. Yes,
For those that didn't follow, we don't record this. We record these in advance. So we'll
Well-
meet tomorrow to record what you hear next week.
actually what Brandon
That's
doesn't
good. I
know.
mean,
What we're recording tomorrow, you'll have
Sorry.
done heard a few weeks ago.
Well, never the hell am I then? What do I know?
Not about as much as heavy.
But that's what happens in Star Wars when you travel from one season to the other. The relativity changes. So
This is chronologically as put together as Clone Wars is.
Well, yeah. Well, if I would have been smart, which obviously if you've listened to us for more than 30 seconds, you know I'm not, I wouldn't have started this whole thing until Tales of the Jedi came out, so. But, oh well.
You can't wait on Star Wars stuff. There's always something new coming out.
That's true.
There's
but-
Andor, and then there's Tales of the Jedi, and now Acolyte is being worked on now.
yeah, I think so. I haven't watched Andor yet.
Yeah, I haven't watched Andor yet either.
I'm saving my
Yeah,
first
we-
viewing for the show here. So when we get to it, that'll be my first time watching it. So I'm
But
gonna
don't watch it while you're recording, man.
Right. I don't think Drew's internet can handle that.
no. Yeah, me and Robert were talking about that before we started recording of how just limited my mouse on a wheel trying to crank out some internet in there. Yeah, I don't.
Throw your kids in the wheel. That's what they're there for.
No, they're in bed. And they need to stay there. They're exhausted. They had the last 2 days off of school. Oh, but anywho, speaking of school, these clones are learning. But yeah, Shock T is leading the teaching of the clones, which I do agree with you. Your point you made a minute ago that she is a very underutilized character throughout Star Wars, other than her.
She got robbed.
Well, she had 3 cool death scenes in episode 3 that we'll get to. None that
Yep.
made it on screen, but still.
Nope. She got robbed.
Oh, what was it? So notes I took. I didn't take a whole lot of notes down on this, but one I did notice that anybody noticed they called 99 part of a bad batch.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
caught that. I caught-
they referred to their whole team as a bad batch, and I was like, wait a minute. I had to like stop the episode and look it up. Is this like a prequel to the Bad Batch? But it's not. So
no, it's
one
just,
of them is.
Well, yeah, one of them is. Spoiler alert. We'll get there. One
The
of
one
those
that
is. One of those is. Spoiler alert. We'll get there. See what I did there?
One more time, I couldn't hear it.
I can't. But yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. You know, name dropping the name Bad Batch. What? How many years before the actual Bad Batch show came out? That was pretty.
It was George Lucas's master plan in action.
Because he has everything written out in advanced. Advanced.
Dude, he wrote all this down in a little like notebook when he was in college. Did you not pay attention?
Hold on a second. He doesn't see the future?
Mm. You mean he had his sister kiss at Luke's sister make out with him in the second episode? Yeah.
Yep.
No. No. Last couple episodes we've watched, there's been a lot too that I can sit and poo poo and not like. There's not a whole lot about this episode I didn't like. Of the whole series, I've seen it a few times. This is one of my favorite episodes of the Clone Wars, and I'm just gonna go ahead and throw that out there. You'll get my grade on it, or you'll figure that out the grade a little later. But yeah, this is one of my favorites. I thought it was well done the way they showed them, not working together. I have two little nitpicky problems with this episode. The first one, and the first one's not even about the episode. It's just a general Star Wars thing that just eats me up. Did nobody think it was just a tad bit weird that the guy that happened to be the template for the clones just happened to be working with Dooku when the Clone Wars started? Nobody thought to,
It was clouding the mind, using the Force.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those. I don't know if you want to call it a plot hole or what, but oh my goodness.
But I'm still surprised, man, because I mean they train so hard, and then they yet cannot shoot anything when they're in the battlefield.
Yeah, yeah, they were pretty bad there for the first little bit. Then we get there. What do you want to call it? 99 Ex Machina, and suddenly they're a fierce fighting unit. That was my other note. Like suddenly, just wham, one guy gets a speech given to him, and they're suddenly great. But I understand.
Well, one guy gets a speech, and then the other one gets hazed in the docking port and punched and threatened.
Well, that's true. Yeah, poor cut up. But yeah, just see. I know we only got 22 minutes. We can't spend a whole lot of time showing, like with a montage, showing them how great they're getting. But it just seemed a
montage.
Are you done?
Oh yeah, go ahead. This is giving you background music.
Oh great, that was you singing? I thought a cat was dying.
I mean, I was in the cat musical.
That's nah, I'm just messing. But yeah, those are my only two gripes with this one. And that's pretty much other than anybody catch THX 1138.
Oh yes. I was like, hold on a second. I had to rewind that a couple of times.
Yeah, I was sitting there. I was like, I was doing the whole Leonardo DiCaprio meme. He did. That's it. I know that. Or Captain America. I understood that reference.
I would have to say I one of the things that I like about this episode is we get a side of the clones that we don't see. And it was, in a way, to me, it was refreshing to see that. They are those. See, for me, the clones are the best ones. And I don't know if this is a shared sentiment. Then I prefer the clones over the stormtroopers. To see them, they have they all copy that they're clones, and they have the potential to be what we end up seeing in the movies. So this is kind of nice to be able to see, kind of like they said, the Bad Batch. This is a group that, that because they all have their own personal way of being, their personalities, and it is possible that through joining, because you have to form squads after they're born, and they grew, and it's possible that you get a batch of where their personality they all crash. So I understand. I might be in Geo. Maybe you. I don't know if you agree with me in this one. You can probably tell me your thoughts on that. But the way that I look at it is, this group, they kind of got their reality thrown into them, and they realize, hold up a second, we failed twice. If we don't do something right now, we're gonna end up like those other guys that we don't want to be. So
How shitty they mistreat like all the ranks, even though they are not even the best. It's
but you see
ironic.
what I mean? They're all clones and they had the possibility of all being the same. I think what, and this is something that we talked and I promise I try not to get too deep, but in our show, we usually say that we are the results of our experiences and our surroundings. So I could have a clone, and because me and that other clone have completely different experiences through life, we're going to end up being completely different people.
Oh.
But we still have the same inside. We're the same person. So I think this is the way that I look at it is this case where they're like, holy crap, we got to do something now. And they got whipped into shape. And that's how the episode ended. But then again, I have a tendency, Gio, you can correct me, of stretching and overthinking things. So let me know if that makes any sense.
It does, and I mean, not only that. If you look at it from the other way too, it's like when somebody like is bullied and they allow others or any external factor to dictate who they really are instead of they deciding that themselves. And if you notice, they're also mocked by every single other squad around them. You know, so all these things pile up to then allowing that to become the reality instead of they saying, no, we're better than this, you know. And of course then they don't work together at all. They're just a whole mess. Like this one goes here like Leroy Yankee and the other one's like, behind. Like you know, like that's what I want. We don't leave them behind in all kind of military and kind of like they're like a brotherhood if you think of it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, and I mean they had to think as a group, not as individuals, and they were all thinking as individuals. And that's like the first intro you get into the show. They're in the middle of the exam, and you have this guy that was like a propaganda radio talker, like, and now for Star Wars, they're training before war.
I
And then
love the narrator.
literally just doing domino effect. One throws the other one behind. So it was ironic that they were called the Domino Squad.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Robert, to your point where you say they're all clones, but experiences and makes who they are. I think that's a very good thing that this whole series, this whole Clone Wars TV show, did a very good job of two things: showing Anakin really, driving himself toward being Vader. And I think the other thing that we're seeing here tonight that they really did is humanizing the clone troopers. They're not just mindless automatons like the droids are. They're individuals capable of thought. And the more they show their individuality, just the more it drives home the point of how sad that the victims that they were when Order 66 got enacted.
Yeah.
And the more you humanize with them and like them, and especially in this series when you find like a clone, man, he's really cool, and then they just may kill him in the next episode just because
Yeah, and I mean,
he is. That's the reality.
it was
Yeah.
tough because you have three different forces trying to measure the integrity of those trainings. You know, you have the Master Jedi, but then besides the person in charge of testing them, you actually have now a mercenary being the person like responsible for the success of these clones. And then this mercenary is looking at it just as a job. He's not looking at it as the future of other living creatures, neither. So he look at them like products, you know.
Yeah.
And all of those things actually are very very instrumental for the final result, you know.
Yeah, this episode, I mean, ends on a high note, but if you break it down like we are right now, it kind of just makes it sad.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, of course, the whole leading in from the prequels until the main original trilogy is quite sad all around, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
I mean, like, it establishes that as a clone trooper, as a being bred into life, you have two options, which are be good at war or be a janitor with a hunchback.
yeah, and it's not like Quasimodo. Man. He doesn't get his princess. He's gypsy princess in here.
Another thing, another thing that you mentioned that is really sad is, I don't know, maybe this is because I love clones over the stormtroopers, but it's kind of sad to me. I mean, to me, if you put a clone in a stormtrooper, the clone is going to win, even without a weapon. Solid.
Oh, I totally agreed.
But to me, the stormtrooper, they might as well be drones.
Yeah. I mean, the one big difference to me is we never got to see an actual stormtrooper face have, like, in the original trilogy, did we?
Not in the movies, but if you're talking like Legends, we know several stormtroopers.
No, I'm not talking Legends.
I mean, my favorite Jedi from Legends was a stormtrooper.
Yeah, but he doesn't exist anymore.
Shut up. He exists in my heart.
He does not exist. We erased him.
I'm going to make an announcement that I might get hate for, but for me, all Star Wars is Star Wars.
I am jerking his chain because I know he loves.
And I love Mary Jade.
Yes. Yeah, I still consider have either of you ever read the book Plagueis, the Plagueis book?
I've heard of that.
I heard, but haven't read it.
Amazing book that basically isn't so much about Plagueis as it is about Uncle Sheev, and it leads right into, like, it basically ends midway through episode 1, but it doesn't tell the story about it. Tells, about Sheev, not really Anakin, and it goes right into it, and it is just so perfect. The background, I don't care if they say it's not canon anymore. It's my head canon because it is such a perfect story, such a good book. I need to read it again.
Yeah, all Star Wars is Star Wars.
Yeah.
And something that I found really interesting is everybody talks about Daddy Kenobi. Look how it's going on. He seduced Mara Jade, and Mara Jade was sent to kill him.
Yeah.
So talk about, Daddy Kenobi. I think Daddy Luke.
Yeah. And that just makes Anakin more and more.
I mean, Luke also could have banged his sister if he wanted to, but now you never know. But we had to write that out once he made one. Yeah, once. Yeah. Thanks, George. We missed that one.
She didn't really like him.
But if he didn't do he didn't do the actual girl that was like a decoy for Padme.
Oh,
just like, I was like, oops, she looked like you.
Oh, Padme, I've missed you.
Like, we're not the same under the clothes. You cannot say that. Like, oops, sorry. George Lucas, you gotta fix this.
When did you get a hip tattoo?
Well, I feel necessary to say on behalf of Science Fiction Remnant, I'm sorry. We use no rails.
Oh, you're among friends.
We derailed everything. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. I'm out of notes. I didn't really take a whole lot. Does anybody else have anything they want to talk about?
I mentioned the Master Chief cameo in this. I like the Microsoft crossover.
Yeah, I was like, what? Okay.
My wife said the same thing when we watched it years ago when because we watched this like so many times, and it's like, Master Chief. Hold on a second, Halo.
He looks way uglier in the Star Wars universe.
I was waiting for that great chance. Like, oh.
Did I miss something?
The name of the mean bounty hunter, the bad guy bounty hunter. His rank was Master Chief.
Oh yeah, okay. I don't know what I did catch that. Yeah. I don't know what I was thinking. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Someone needs to put that video with a soundtrack from Halo on YouTube.
I need a weapon.
Cortana. I'm gonna do a Photoshop with Master Chief, and I'm gonna put like a bigger, like a bob head, because I don't think that brain fits inside of the Master Chief helmet.
That would be hilarious.
Let's see. I talked about references to Bad Batch, which didn't make sense in the original airing of this, I'm sure. But in future time, looking back at this, it was cool to hear them keep saying Bad Batch, especially with Echo on the team, which we'll get to that later, I guess.
We'll get to that later, I guess.
Terry. That's the thing. Their names were very self-explanatory on their issue. It's like we have here five what do you call it? The deadly sins, and each of them are what their name is. Take Echo, for example.
No.
But yeah, I also talked about like they made it seem like Shock T is the one super head honcho in charge of training all of the clones. And I feel like there's got to be more than that, because for the number of clones that they have to put out to support an army that's constantly at war with a droid army, there has to be a lot more than these two idiots in Shock T. Like they're training like what, 12 at a time and sending them out in a battalion.
Yep, sure.
I
She
would
just
think, I would think that this is just like a small portion of what's going across other planets and galaxy too.
Well, they all come from
thinking-
Camino, though.
they're
Yeah.
all- so yeah, I mean,
No,
Well,
but
I
I'm
mean,
thinking what Gio is saying, this cannot be just the only training facility in Camino. Camino is huge.
maybe
yeah.
they just grow them
So-
here, then ship them off the train. Oh well,
Yeah.
I mean it's a big. Maybe they're just different. I know there's different cities on the planet. Maybe this is just one training facility. Maybe she's
Yeah,
just like over it all, but here's her office.
Yeah, like I said, they don't specify in the episode. It's just
Yeah.
left open. And then another thing I thought interesting was they talk about how the DNA that they have is degrading as time goes on too.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I guess in my head I was like, surely they just have the information saved on a computer and they just hit the Control P and they get a new clone. But
Well, how much? I mean, how much DNA could they have got from his severed head off of Geonosis? Just kept it in a jar.
yeah, or just looked at Mace Windu's lightsaber hilt.
Does does anybody else feel bad for Django?
Django? No.
Boba, yes.
Yes.
But yeah, Boba. Oh my God, I remember seeing that. That was that must have been traumatic. Oh my God.
The amount of vanity it would take to want a son that is an exact genetic replica of you and not have the time or thought to go find a female to reproduce with. I can't picture that in the real world.
I think that it is a galaxy, so there's everything out there. But where they come from, with like
Hey,
covered
listen. Kirk did it. Okay.
See, I would be going to Camino going, yes, I'd like a clone of me, but here's what I want. Change everything. Literally nothing like me. And we're
Me
good.
plus Jennifer Aston. Make that happen.
Who?
Jennifer Aston? For real?
I don't know.
Friends, the blonde one.
Yeah, no,
You-
he's got.
Oh, you mean Jennifer Aniston?
He's gonna be
Words are hard.
he's gonna say,
Aston,
were on the
Aniston,
break.
whatever. You know what I meant.
Yes, Jennifer the car. Jennifer Aston Martin.
James Bond's
But you know-
favorite girl.
Aniston couldn't because she was on the break. So, maybe he got it right.
There you go.
Oh,
It just takes a Thurnaway cup, and there you go, Camino.
yeah, I mean, if you're looking for dudes, you can go to Camino, but there's nothing else over there. I think. If I go to Alaska, maybe nobody's from Alaska, right?
But you do have a point. Django not being able to find someone. Come on.
I mean, just hire someone. He's a bounty hunter. Surely there's someone in bounty hunter world that be like, yeah, I have a baby. Just pay me. Like,
Yeah.
there's got to be.
maybe that's what in the episode 2, maybe that's what the assassin was going to say right before he darted her in the throat. I'm pregnant. No, you're not. No intergalactic child support for me.
While we're on the subject of clones, I just had a thought pop in my head. Is there anything that's official canon right now that has to do with cloning Jedi, other than like Papa Palpa?
Hmm.
Ugh.
Good one for you, Robert.
I
'Cause
can't.
The Force Unleashed games hit on it, but like, why not start sampling Jedi to make new troopers? Like,
The Plagueis movie or the Plagueis book went into it a little bit, but
yeah, like
lot,
Force
not
Unleashed
me.
goes into it a lot too, and
it's not canon anymore either.
right.
That's quite a few times. Yeah, a while the Force Unleashed came out. Actually, I played that in 360. I think.
Yeah,
Great game.
they re-released it on Switch recently.
Oh, that's sweet. That's sweet. And I was watching also the Fallen Order too, playing it, and it's pretty cool because in here now you're like running away because the Jedi's are falling actually. So
I love Fallen Order. I'm on my like
Hey,
third playthrough.
hey, the Robert, I'm surprised, Mister. I do it all right myself. Tell me like just Google it because I'm locked up in a place. So I'm like, I run the table, like, shit, how can I jump this thing? Like, just Google it. Like, no, I don't want to do that. It will take away all my. Yes, I did this myself.
But you mentioned that, and now I want to see it. A force sensitive stormtrooper.
Well,
Hmm.
like I said, I don't think there's anything canon, but I know like in Legends, the issue was like they couldn't clone someone to be force sensitive or something like that. Like it kept messing up the clones and they came out like malformed and messed up and everything. There's
It's
something
funny,
about cloning with midichlorians,
it would
chlorines.
tell that like they're trying to imply that the clones, even though that we're trying like to advocate for the equality, they're like a droid, like a copy. So they lack something that the force is not on them.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of makes sense because when you clone, you're cloning physically the body, and midichlorians is not. It's something that is all around you. It's not something you can duplicate, I think.
But,
I-
but
See Anakin Skywalker and Snoke.
Yeah. See, it gets complicated. I don't know. That's
But
a
like that, they haven't said anything like official stamped it into canon, like what is and isn't, or what the issue is, or how it's done, or anything like that. It's all subjective right now.
hearsay.
Yeah, apparently Palpa could do it, but we don't know how.
yeah.
Yeah. Again, I keep quoting this. The Plagueis book goes into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Creating.
even in other legend stuff, after Palpatine and Vader, spoilers, are killed, they have clone bodies that they're then put into and not dead anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a whole Pandora's box you could open and we could be here for hours. Okay, stop opening the box. Put your box. Something I don't like to say, but put your box away.
so the clones don't have midichlorians, but then it seems that depending on where the source of the genetic code comes from, that could be also duplicated.
Wasn't there? I'm sure it's a Legends book, but now wasn't there a book about a clone who was force sensitive?
I will check the ever expanding official list of Halo canon called Google and find out.
You mean Star Wars canon?
What did I say?
Halo.
Let's talk about Master Chief. It's
That's
stuck in my
okay.
head.
That's okay. My wife was talking about somebody and said she was in the military. I said, which one? The military. She said, the Army, the military, the Navy, and the Coast Guard. I said, you mean the Marines? She's like, yeah, that's what I said. I said, no, not what you said. But yeah,
So,
why you,
Air Force and Naval and Marines are the same thing.
yeah, well, no, it was one of those you were thinking a word but saying another. She thought she was saying Marines, but was saying military and wondering why I was confused.
I do that all the time.
But Brandon, while you looked it up, I will ask Robert and Gio if they have any.
You go first, Robert. Mr. Node.
No, aside from the fact that this was a very refreshing episode for me, because I get to see that side of the clones that we don't normally see on a regular basis. And you know, I like a ratty crowd. So
All right,
Well,
Gio.
mine's actually, I was very surprised. And yeah, this is definitely not for kids only, or mostly. They share a lot of like the political issues and how it's actually everything is structured within the Jedi Council, and like how the training of the clones is done. So it sheds a lot of light on what goes on the backscene of these guys that are using all the same uniform, that you might think they're one more number. And I mean, I really like the uniqueness that they did, the authenticity to each clone being an individual. Like my favorite one was fives, because it was 5555, and like when they start calling each other like by the whole number, I'm like, how the heck somebody can remember that shit? I'm like, hey, you do it.
Yeah,
Even if it turns around, I don't care.
yeah, I love because we start to get the nicknames and the things like that, especially in this episode, and it just again humanizes them, makes them more than just a helmet.
And I think that characters like Boba Fett and all of those supposed Bad Batch also show that they can achieve greatness, even though they are might seem as being one of the bunch. That authenticity and that uniqueness that they have does not limit them from a bigger adversary
Yeah,
to be great. I mean, the Mandalorians as a kind also prove that, because they are not they don't have powers like the Jedi's or the Sith, and they're still just as fearsome warriors that are to be watch out from as any other.
yeah, and the droids, they are their programming. They do what they are told to do, but the the clones are more than their programming. They are more than the sum of their parts. They are capable of just about anything we'll end up seeing. And I love that part. That's a very good point.
And it's funny you say that. I watched a documentary. I've been dying to get Robert to watch. Actually, it's called the Human Machine, and basically they explain you that psychology is also a form of programming. So like we even us humans, we're programmable, but it's done through psychology to raise a living being.
I've
Now, I
heard I've
have a
heard of that. I
question.
just haven't watched it.
It's a free documentary, one of those like G's movement documentaries that are on YouTube. But it's very interesting because they use like these people in the 1980s, in the 1800s, that would actually get a kid and raise it with monkeys for 5 or 6 years, just to like show that we are fully programmable to any other psychological language or code of conduct of other animals. So every living being has their own psychology. But in here, like I had a question because I am not well versed on everything on Star Wars. The clones are born already grown up, or they have a whole life since children.
They have accelerated growth rates built into their genes,
Oh, okay.
except for Boba, which Boba is a 100% pure, unaltered clone of Jango Fett.
Yeah, so they grow pretty quickly.
And do they die and age very quickly too?
They age quick, yeah.
Yeah, they don't
So
live.
It's like
Factor into learning factor.
the season 7 we see old clones. Or no, that's not season. Is it season? I'm thinking
Rebels.
of Rebels. Yeah, they meet.
oh,
Nice,
I
right?
love those old
99
clones and
like
rebels.
99 is a rarity that we see actually in the Clone Wars.
Well, 99's not old per se. He's deformed. He's a messed up clone.
He's a defect.
Yeah,
Oh,
like they put a chromosome in the wrong spot when they were making him, and it turned him into Quasimodo.
well,
right.
he saved France from those Nazi Catholics.
Yep.
But to the research I was doing about force sensitive clones, I couldn't find like an official site. So if you're listening to this and you know more about this than I do, feel free to let us know on our Twitter, Across Stars Pod. But anyways, from what I can find, there in canon, there's never any mention of any clone troopers being force sensitive, but that does not eliminate the possibility for it, since they are individual living beings. However, it is very unlikely, since Jango Fett was not force sensitive. They would have, in theory, the same midi-chlorian count that he had.
Yeah.
So that's why we don't ever see any force sensitive ones. But apparently in the comics, there was one that thought he was force sensitive and really liked the Jedi and everything, but he wasn't ? But yeah.
All right, yeah.
So yeah.
So if you're out there and know more than we do, which wouldn't be hard, reach out and let us know if you know any. I don't care if it's canon or not. If it's Legends, great. Just because remember,
I didn't see anything in Legends either, but they also talked about how like in Legends, Django imparted some of his Mandalorian culture onto clones, but in canon he does not. So, and the only clones that most clones do not consider themselves Mandalorians, but some of them, especially pilots, do, because the pilots were trained by a Mandalorian.
no, very interesting. All
So
right,
there you go.
all right. Well, let's move on. I don't have clips tonight, so I guess we can't do that. What would you guys have? I don't know if I told you this beforehand or not, so you can just make up something off the top of your head. What would you guys have named this episode? Brandon, I'll let you go first since we've already given yours away.
I had two of them. So one was what we said earlier, the Hunchback of Camino,
Which was mine. Yeah,
Yep.
so I gotta come up with another one.
and then another one was the Beta Bad Batch.
Beta Bad Batch.
Okay, yeah, I like that one. All right, Robert, you wanna come up with something on the fly?
The first thing that came to mind was the A-Team.
Dum bum bum bum
Dun,
bum
dun,
bum.
Shakti pulls out a cigar. She's like, I love it when a plane comes together.
Who said you can't fly a tank?
The only thing missing was that, that van,
Oh, that would be cool.
Now I want to see it.
Heavy just starts mowing him down. I pity the fools.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I like that one. That one's good. All right, Gio, you got one? You want to come up with one?
Well, I mean, mine went along the lines of the first one mentioned, but I thought of the clone of Notre Dame.
I like that one.
Because I mean that the story revolved a lot around 99, even though he was a back character, like he was not shown so much, but he does a lot of resemblance to like, and he's very knowledgeable about everything, the code of conduct, what you need to be like, even though he was not physically probably capable, mentally and train wise and knowledgeable, he was way beyond any of those clones that we saw in there, even the other ones that were passing tests, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, he actually was instrumental for the success of Domino Squad too.
I got a question for you, Gio, on that episode name. Who's Esmeralda?
Esmeralda?
99.
I mean, I would say Master Chief was Esmeralda. I would think so. I mean, Esmeralda was an asshole, man. She just like kind of lured Quasimodo and then just like third wheel him and got the blonde guy with the nice haircut. and then that put Notre Dame was just a sad ass story, man. This guy just dies alone.
Oh,
I mean, it's nice. This is not the story for our hunchback in the story in the Clone War. Actually, it's rewarding to how he's revered afterwards. And I mean, I started watching episode 1, and when I noticed I was watching like episode 7 already, because the political issues that was drawing all of the giving them a second chance instead of just disposing of them like tools, really escalated too, because it seems that this was happening with a lot of them. So you have a lot of clones that had the potential, but they were not given the chance because they were being measured under the same system. And it reminded me a lot of something that Albert Einstein said once. Like if you grab, they have like different animals in front of a pond, and it says if you ask the fish to climb a tree like a monkey, you're never gonna get that. Just the same thing as if you get an elephant to swim like a fish, it's not gonna happen. So using the same system for subjects that are not the same really and don't have the same way of learning, it's gonna not always gonna work for the best in every single person. And the clones represent that. The clones are a very ironic creation because even though they're clones, they're nothing alike at all.
That's
Their personality is very diverse. So you
Yeah.
could call this two. You could call these two diversity clones
yeah.
or just diverse. The episode.
All right. Since Brandon stole mine, I had to come up with another one. So I came up with Full Metal Jacket with lasers.
Oh, nice.
Because I
Yo.
mean, you could stick the Master Chief in the role of Lee Emery as the drill sergeant.
Only
And-
two things come out of Caminos, son. Hunchbacks and stormtroopers, and I don't see a hunch.
Oh.
You guys have like a written list of like how chronologically goes the episodes?
Yes.
Oh,
Somewhere.
Yeah, I have the master list.
do that.
I bet you could suck a gun dart through a lightsaber. No, I'm done.
Blaster actually seems a lot less painful than the lightsaber. Robert and I watch this guy never did more videos because of science, right?
Yeah, he's changed his format, but he's still doing videos. Yeah,
Watch it because of science. The guy explains like sci-fi stuff with science, and like
Kyle
he's
Hill.
like, yeah, and like if you put a lightsaber, like a real one, on a person, he actually will make him blow up.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
hilarious.
So you really wouldn't just burn and just poke a hole in it.
No, as soon as you touch the skin,
Vaporize the whole thing.
just like I said.
That's wow. Yeah, I want to see that.
Oh, you're gonna this channel for this guy because of science is addictive because you're gonna start seeing things from games. A lot of things on Star Wars, like what would if there would be a science behind it. A lot of things on Avengers, anything that you've seen of video games, Zelda, like everything, and it just gets interesting because of black hole of you being YouTube, watching something and then checking all the things that has nothing to do with what you started 5 hours down the road.
Yeah, been there. Oh, yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead. We'll move on to our last segment actually, where we rate this episode 1 to 10. And absolutely feel free to use a decimal because after we're going to have a lot of them and it'll help break up the ties. Again, I don't know. I can't remember if I told you we did this or not. So I will go first tonight. As I said earlier, I really like this episode of Clone Wars. It's one of the ones I remember being one of my favorites, and it did not disappoint. The only problem I really had with it is all of a sudden, bam, they're good. And that just seemed like a little quick to me.
So
But-
you would say
Well, excuse me.
like the progression was very poorly elaborated.
Well, I mean, I know we only have 22 minutes, so, but yeah. But overall, I like this. This is actually the highest thing I've rated so far. I'm going to give this an 8.2. I really like this one. So I will pass the floor to, let's see, last one, Gio.
To me,
Yeah.
I've watched some Clone Wars, and I actually was gonna rate lower than you.
Oh, no. You rate it whatever you feel like.
Yeah, no, this episode, I definitely will give it. I would like some more. I like closure, and how fast it developed, and they didn't give you that closure with that. That's how I felt. So I'm rating this like a 6.5, and trust me, I have lower ratings.
Oh.
Things that I watch in Star Wars.
That's absolutely fine. All right, Robert.
I seen a lot of Clone Wars, and this is going to come to a shock, maybe to Gio and everybody that knows me that is listening to this episode.
Are Disney love today? For Disney?
It's going to come to as a shock because the thing is that I'm looking at the whole property as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
and there's so many so many good episodes in here that in order for me to balance this out,
Epic fights has to be taken.
typically I would give it a 10. But in order to balance this out for the entire IP as a whole, I would have to give this an 8. And that I'm not saying I don't like it. I really enjoyed this episode. There are other episodes that are 9s and 10s. This happens to be an 8 for me.
Oh, well, I can't complain because you're pretty close to where I am. All right, Brandon.
Well, for me, I agree it was a good episode, but I feel like on the regular, I typically tend to score Clone Wars episodes low, just because I'm not a fan of like the episodic thing with real short stories that are all happy and go lucky at the end and everything. And then what knocked this one down another notch for me was there's no big epic lightsaber stuff. And if I'm gonna watch Star Wars, let's be honest, I'm watching it for lightsabers and Force. Like I'm not saying there's not other stuff to Star Wars, because I know that's a debate a lot of people have. Star Wars is more than just Jedi.
Okay, you're going to hate Andor.
Siths.
I haven't watched it yet.
Like
I know there's more to Star Wars, but I come to Star Wars for Jedi, Sith, and Force and all that stuff. So anytime there's not that, it knocks it down a notch for me. But I couldn't quite get it up to 6. So I gave it 5.98.
5.98.
And I mean, that's the thing. That doesn't mean that you didn't like it either, you know?
Yeah, I liked it, and I've definitely given lower scores.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely given lower scores.
I fall more like Robert is more in the spectrum of like Star Wars as a whole. I'm more of a later. I mean, I watched with Robert the Star Wars from episode 4 all the way to 7 that I hadn't watched before. I watched him like not even 3 years ago, right, Robert?
Yeah.
Before that, I watched 1 to 3 only, and play the video game for the racing pods too in Nintendo 64.
Now this is pod racing.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
and don't get me wrong, like one of the things that I love the most when Phantom Menace came up is the orchestral music that they came out with. Like you have the OSTs alone, you can get videos on YouTube or download the actual soundtracks, and they're pretty epic and beautifully made too. But
yeah, we didn't get to the music on this show on this episode, but it was pretty much.
But I'm looking also for
the
show fights and like that big boom that give you the good stuff in Star Wars. You know, I mean, they show a little bit of Anakin going with like a big group of ships to a fight, but other than that, you don't get much gist of what's going on outside the Camino.
Yep, that's true. Well, with those scores, that brings the average of this episode to as a 7.17. So that's actually the highest thing we've watched so far, which would be the episode 1, episode 2, and like 3 or 4 episodes so far, and the Clone Wars movie, quote unquote movie. But which was as we talked about, I don't know if you guys remember or have seen it, it's 3 episodes glued together and they stuck it in a theater.
And remember, due to our sporadic recording process, we have not watched Jedi Tales yet, but you will have already heard us talking about Jedi Tales at this point. So yeah.
Bro,
it's the magic of time travel.
Yeah. Weird. Weird how that works. Weird how that works.
But yeah. I think that these episodes too, like, is very good. I think it works most as an introduction to what's to come.
Yeah,
because he did that beautifully too.
This is the first time that I've ever watched it, of course, like a madman in chronological order. Shut up, Brandon. And I think I'm actually, I know we're early, I'm actually preferring watching it this way. Because I remember watching it the first time, you'd see episodes like, oh, this clone died. Then half a season later, bam, there he is again. And it got confusing real quick.
They're all the same. Maybe it was a clone of a clone.
No, that was a clone of a clone, or that clone, they got cloned for that clone.
All right.
Like, hey, I thought we were there. No, they took me to the farm where they take the dogs, and you cannot see them anymore. But I was able to come back.
I think I'm a clone now. No, sorry. Two of us just hanging. Anyway, anywho, so 7.17. That's actually a pretty good score to me. I'm okay with, everybody has their own opinion, and we were all pretty close except for Brandon, who sucks at his scores. But
I mean, I don't keep a spreadsheet of everything I've rated either. I go by how it makes me feel in the moment.
oh well, I have a spreadsheet.
Robert and me.
That way we have a reference point. But anywho, I guess I do have the advantage of seeing the spreadsheet, so I guess I'm cheating a little bit. But I mean, that's pretty much our review of Clone Wars Season 3, Episode 1, Clone Cadets. I'd like to thank Robert and Gio for coming, and one of you, whoever would like to do it, tell our listeners where they can find you, listen to you, social media, yada, 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 home address, social security number, whatever.
That's a radio voice. He can do that part. And he doesn't have a social- doesn't have a social media.
Yeah, I've got the face for radio.
The podcast is Science Fiction Remnant, and just like the name says, we're just that remnant of a conversation that you have after watching a really good sci-fi movie. And we are not a review show, Gio.
No. I mean, we're not like super like.
We mainly talk
of
about
the
the subjects and the topics within that movie.
Yeah.
And I think one of the description that I heard that fits us the most is that conversation that you have on the way to Comic-Con with your friends. That's basically us. We are
Comic-Con though, man.
Huh?
I've never been to a Comic-Con though.
Oh, I gotta change that.
I don't know what it is, a Comic-Con. Like, I've seen it on YouTube videos only. So
we are in all the socials at Sci-Fi Remnant. And you can find our podcast anywhere you find your favorite podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for coming tonight. That's been a blast so far. Brandon, do you want to tell everybody where they can find us?
Sure. You can find us on the Twitterverse, as long as it exists so far, at Across Stars Pod. There it is. Yeah, Across Stars Pod. And you can find me personally at RadDadGamer0 on Twitter. And if you feel like we have wronged the Star Wars fandom or universe in some way, feel free to come hit caps lock and get in a fight with Drew on Twitter, because I'm sure he'll take the bait.
Yeah.
I'm sure that Drew, just like me, also shared Star Wars is fantasy, right?
Yeah. The first person that starts telling me that Star Trek 5 is a great movie, I will block you. Here's to you, Jesse. It's been fun. And if you're confused of what that is, I've been having a faux Twitter beef with the guys from Open Pike Night all week on Star Trek 5, The Final Frontier. Now, would God, it should have been the final movie. Not really, because 6 was great. But don't shake your head at me. 6 was a great movie.
You're making it, bro.
Who, me?
I will. Yeah, you kind of gave me the. I will die on that. I will die on that hill.
No comment. I don't know that I've ever seen it. I know I've seen a few Star Trek movies, but I don't know
You're
which
talking
ones.
to someone that likes one.
I like one. I like
one.
It's
I saw two.
Everybody hates one. I don't know why.
I don't like it, but I mean, I don't think it's a great movie. I like it. 2's awesome. 3 is, 4 has whales. 5.
I saw that one.
The one with the whales.
Yeah, I saw the one with the whales. Computer. Sorry. little tidbit. Did you know that transparent aluminum is now a real thing? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Transparent aluminum is now actually real, and they thought it anyway.
Where do you see this? Like, how this information came to you? I'm absolutely curious.
I know so much useless trivia when it comes to crap like that. Oh my god, yeah.
Gio, I gotta send you the YouTube video. It's really interesting.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at it. I'm gonna look that up. I need to see it now.
Yeah, so Star Trek 5 is crap. 6 was great, and then they went to the next generation, and it's we'll not go there. But anyway, 5 sucks. Jesse, you're wrong. Anywho. See, I can take. It's fun to take shots at him when he can't answer back. I got to get him one here. Then we'll just have a.
The good thing is like, they cannot fight back now, right now in the air, because they're not here to do it.
You can't answer.
And listen.
And you gotta let me know when that episode airs, because I'll be listening.
Will do. All right. Well, we've been awesome tonight. For Robert, Geo, and my Padawan learner Brandon, I have been your Jedi Knight Drew. This has been fun, and as always, may the Force be with you.
Bye-bye.